So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this style of Japanese knot bag. Really, it's kind of a combination between a knot bag and a bucket bag. As you can see here, I have lined them. And what I did was just a little FYI, is I used plastic canvas and created a kind of a basket for the inside of the lining just to give a little form and stability for anything I might like to put into the bag. However, when you make your own bag, you are certainly free to not add that aspect of the bag, which will give it more of a fabric, more organic kind of a feel. And in that case, it'll be less of a bucket bag and more of an actual Japanese knot bag. So I'm basically in this video going to show you how to do the shell of the bag. Everything else is completely optional and we will get into that. My name is Sig, and it is such a pleasure to have this time with you today. It's your support that allows me to contribute new content and weekly videos. Help us grow together by tapping the subscribe bar, notification bell, and like buttons. I look forward to your comments and always value your feedback. Let's get started. So the first thing, and really the only thing that you need in addition to the appropriate size hook, is the worsted weight yarn you're wanting to use for your Japanese style knot bag. Everything else I show you after this is purely optional. It's what I choose to do with the bag, so I'm going to show you how to do with the bag, but again, it's not necessary. So as far as your worsted weight yarn is concerned, I'm not even going to tell you how many grams you need because weight varies with yarn. So what I'm going to tell you is you're going to need, let's say if you have 300 yards of yarn, approximately 300 yards of yarn, that's going to give you plenty of yarn to make this handbag. The other things which are strictly optional that I'm going to use that you may want to use also are 2 sets of these magnetic purse clasps. Also, I am going to use this stained glass rose appliques to decorate my bag. Now, of course, you don't need any of this. You don't have to decorate your bag at all. You can leave it plain, or you could use several different colors of your worsted weight yarn in order to create stripes or whatever design you'd like to convey with just the color of the yarn. Also, because I happen to like my purses and handbags lined, I'm going to include just your basic cotton material that I can then craft into a lining for this bag. So today I'm using a worsted weight yarn, again, as I usually use just because I like it. I'm using a recycled silk material, a yarn from Darn Good Yarns, and this particular yarn is called Phoenix Rising. It's a worsted weight, but it's a little tighter, I think, than a standard worsted weight in, let's say a wool or a acrylic yarn. So for this particular yarn, I am using a size E. Now, you can use a size G maybe for your yarn in terms of hook sizes, or a size F. If you're using let's say a sport weight yarn, you might consider using a D or a size 3 hook. But for this project, I'm using an E, a 3.5 millimeter hook. And we're going to start with an adjustable, or otherwise known as a magic ring. And then I'm going to single crochet 6 single crochets within that ring. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you don't know how to do a magic or an adjustable ring, I do have a tutorial for that in my playlist under How to Crochet. So with that said, we have 3 single crochets. I need 3 more. Now this is the base, of course, of our handbag. And I'm going to use, instead of a stitch marker, I'm going to just use a length of cotton yarn. And I'm just going to put it right in there to mark my space. Now I'm going to join. And I'm going to start round 2. And now in each of my single crochets, I'm going to increase each stitch. So in other words, I'm going to do 2 single crochets in each single crochet, giving me a total of 12 single crochets in round 2. We have 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So you're going to want to mark this stitch again where you're going to join, and I'm just going to pull my yarn through. Now for round 3, I'm going to chain 1 and then single crochet in this same stitch. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to increase. So in other words, I'm going to do 2 single crochets in that stitch. And then I'm going to repeat this 6 times. So this is once, single crochet in the next stitch, and 2 single crochets in the following stitch. So that's 2. So I've repeated those instructions twice. And then the next stitch once. And then the stitch after that's going to be my increase, so 2 single crochets in that space. And that's 3 times that I've completed that. So I'm going to finish the rest. 1, and then 2. 1, and then 2. And then my last one, 1, and then 2. So that's round 3, single crochet, then an increase, and repeat those instructions 6 times. So again, I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to pull it over, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join. And then round 4, I'm going to chain. And then in this same stitch, I'm going to single crochet. That'll be my first one. Then I'm going to increase. 1, 2. And then I'm going to single crochet. So single crochet, increase, or in other words, 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and a single crochet. So that will be the pattern I repeat 6 times. So we've already done it once. Twice. Three times. 4. 5. and then 6. So that should give us 24 stitches total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So again, move or place a new stitch marker, or move the stitch marker you had before. And then join. Now for round 5, we're going to single crochet 3 and then increase. And that pattern is going to be repeated 6 times as well to give us 30 stitches. So we're going to chain 1. I'm going to do a single crochet once, twice in the next stitch, and the third single crochet is going to be in the stitch after that. And then in that 4th stitch, we're going to put 2 single crochets. And we're going to repeat this pattern 5 more times to give us a total of 30 stitches in this round 5. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I'm going to join my round. I'm going to chain 1. And in that same stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. And that'll act as my first single crochet, of course. So for round 6, I've already done my first single crochet, and I actually want to do a single crochet in the next stitch. And then in the next stitch after that, I want to increase. So I want to put 2 single crochets in that next stitch. And then I want to single crochet 2 more single crochets in each of the next 2 stitches. So this pattern is going to be single crochet, increase, single crochet. And we're going to do this pattern 6 times as well. So we need to do it 5 more times, and it will leave us with a total of 36 stitches. So single crochet, increase, single crochet. So that's the second repeat of the pattern. Then again, single crochet, increase, then single crochet and single crochet. Okay, don't forget to move your marker or place a new marker, whichever suits you best. Then we're going to join. And then do a chain stitch. And that brings us to round 7. So now in round 7, we're going to single crochet 5 times, and then we're going to increase. And that pattern we are also going to repeat 6 times. So in the same stitch as the join, I'm going to do my first single crochet, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an increase. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an increase. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an increase. 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. All right, so that so far leaves us with 42 stitches in the 7th round. Again, move your stitch marker Now for round 8, I'm going to do a single crochet 3 times, an increase, and then another single crochet 3 times. And we're going to repeat this 6 times for a total of 48 stitches. So I'm going to do single crochet in the same space, and then I'm going to do our next single crochet, and then our third single crochet, and then the increase, and then 3 more single crochets, and that's our first set. We're going to repeat this pattern again 6 more, or the total is 6 times, so we'll repeat it 5 more times. And 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to pull my stitch marker through, move that. You want to move your stitch marker as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join for the completion of round 8. Now, just go ahead and follow the instructions for the next several rounds. And then when you've completed those rounds, basically completing the base of our knot bag, I will tell you what to do next. So now that we've finished the base, you can see 18 rounds, we're going to move on to the sides of our bag. Going to be using a star stitch, and there's a couple of ways to do a star stitch, and I'll show you within the 2 rows that you will be repeating how to do that star stitch. First, as you've noticed, I've already done 4 rows, and that doesn't matter really, not where you're at, because it's basically the rows are going to be repeated. So from this base row right here, I will start the next round of star stitches, and it'll be the same thing that you would do if you were starting from your base row. Okay, so if you were beginning with round 19, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain 3. And then I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain from my hook, and I'm going to pull through some yarn. And then I'm going to insert my hook into that third chain from the hook, and I'm going to pull through yarn. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. Right here at the base of our chain 3, I'm going to pull through another loop, and then I'm going to pull through another loop in the next 2 stitches. So that should leave me with a total of 6 loops on my hook. And then I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to pull that yarn through all 6 loops, and then I'm going to yarn over and make my slip stitch. So this stitch should look like this so far. That's the beginning of the star stitch. And then for my next star, and every other consecutive star after this, I will continue by inserting my hook into the eye of the star and then pulling through a loop. And then I'll insert my hook into this first leg of the star right down here at the bottom, and I'll pull through a loop. Then I'll go to the base of the star right here, and then I'll pull through another loop. So far I should have 4 loops on my hook. And then the next 2 stitches, I'm going to pull through a loop, and then I'm going to pull through a loop again, the next one, leaving me with, of course, 6 loops on my hook. And I'm going to draw through some more yarn and then make a slip stitch. And that gives me the second part, or my second beginning of a star. Now we'll finish the completed star when we go and do the next row above this. So again, I'm going to insert my hook, and I'm going to pull through a loop right through that eye, and then this first leg of the star, I'm going to go ahead and pull through another loop, and then the base of this leg of the star, I'm going to pull through yet another loop. And then in the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, I'm going to draw through another loop and then make my slip stitch. So I do it a couple of more times, and then I'll show you how to do the second row of this pattern. And when you finish this row, you should have 52 stars. And the easiest way to count the stars is just by counting the eyes. And we'll see you back here in just a moment. So now that we have 52 stars all the way around, I'm going to double crochet in that very last stitch. You're going to join with a slip stitch and then a chain. And then in each eye of the star, we are going to single crochet, 2 single crochets, just like that. Again, in the next eye, 2 single crochets. And then 2 single crochets. So now you can see that the star is actually completed. The star design is completed. Now you're going to come across other star designs where instead of doing a single crochet, they're going to have you do a half double crochet. You can certainly do that with this design. It's not going to hurt anything one way or another. But for this particular knot bag, I want to just do the standard star pattern with the 2 single crochets in the eye for the second row. So basically it's just a repeating of the 2 rows of 19 and 20. And you're going to repeat 19 and 20 until you've reached the height of the bag that you want. So now that you've completed your 13 repeated rows of 19 and 20, you should have something that looks like this. Notice my seam, I still managed my seam in the back so that we can keep an eye on that because we're going to use this, right? But once I pull this yarn out or take out my marker, my stitch marker, this is all going to disappear. You won't even really notice the seam anymore. So now this next part of the video is really an optional part. So if you want to jump straight ahead to what it's going to take for you to complete the strap work on this piece, just go ahead and do that. Otherwise, if you're adding the optional magnetic clasps and or the applique pieces, then stick around with me a few minutes and I'll go over how you can do that. So in order to figure out where I place my magnetic clasps, because really what I want them to do, and let me get this other person here. So you can see that I have them here on the side, and I like them because what it does is it holds my purse closed nicely, and it negates me needing to have like a zipper or something. It just kind of keeps everything tucked in real nice. And then of course that's my strap that keeps my bag closed, and it allows me to carry it properly. So this is what we're going to do here, is figure out how, or rather, where I need to place my magnetic clasps. And that's the first thing we're going to do. So when you finished with your last row of single crochets, you should have ended up with a count of 104 stitches all the way around. And with that, I find the center back seam, and I will count my stitches to 52. And what that gives me is that's half of 104. And so that gives me my front center. And then I do it also on the other side just to make sure that everything is right where it's supposed to be. And that gives me my center back and my front center. And then from there, I'm going to halves it again, right? So in order for me to halves it again, in this particular case, I'm going to need 26 stitches and 26 stitches. And where that 26 stitches ends is where I'm going to put my next stitch marker. So that tells me exactly where the edge, the flat edge of this piece is at. And then I do it on the other side. So now I basically have my piece marked out in quarters. So center back, front center, side 1 and side 2. The next thing I need to do is have each quarter again. And so each quarter has 26 stitches in it. So I'm just going to cut it in half to 13, and I'm going to put my stitch marker right there. So again, each quarter I'm going to halve, and I'm going to do that by counting 13 from either end of the nearest stitch markers to it. And now that gives me 8 equal marked out pieces on my bag. So keeping my front center and my back center together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my side center and I'm going to bring it in. And when I bring it in, my 2 other markers that we see that take up a new kind of side position are going to sit right next to each other. So we're going to pull them and sit them right next to each other, just like so. And the same thing here. We're going to take that side center marker and we're going to bring it in towards the front center and back center position, which is then going to draw the remaining 2 markers together like this. So this is basically going to be the closure. And how you figure out the placement of your magnetic purse clasp is you're going to go just on the inside of these markers. So you're going to go down about a row. You know, you don't need to go down any further than that. You just need to bring it down like a row and a half or so, and just evenly line them up. So I will put this one, let's say approximately here. And then I'll do its mate approximately here, just across from it on the inside of this other marker. And when I attach these, I'm going to actually just follow the instructions that are given to me as to how to attach the actual finishing clasp itself. And so what this will do is once it's placed where I want it to, it's going to be even. And as it closes, it's going to snap shut either side, which offers this bag security as well as making it, I think, more manageable. So, and it gives it a nicer look. So when it's closed, and this is where the next part comes in as far as the applique is concerned. So when it's closed, you can see that you have kind of this space to work with, right? And so this is the space in which you're going to put your applique pieces. So you can see that I did that right here. It's a little hard to see with the butterfly on the front of this bag. And this allows me to place my appliques in a way that can be seen when my purse is clasped shut. So nothing gets folded over, nothing gets obscured. I still keep the kind of artistic-y look that I want to the bag without having the applique itself somehow obscured from vision. So this is how I do this. And I'm going to go ahead and get this done right now, get that finished up. I'm going to get my clasps on, and I'm going to sew on my appliques at this point after I get the clasps on, so I have a better idea where to pin my appliques before sewing them on. And then I will come back and we will start to discuss how to actually make the straps for this knot bag. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my appliques stitched onto the front, and then I have my magnetic purse clasps connected. And so that's kind of how that gives you a feel for that. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and work on that back strap, the actual hand strap. So we'll do the hand strap first, and then we'll do the little latch strap that the hand strap snakes through. So to do this strap, we're going to do a Tunisian stitch, just the basic Tunisian stitch. And the reason for that is because the weave of a Tunisian stitch is much more sturdy, and it's a thick and just all around heftier kind of a fabric. And for the handle, that's kind of what we want, because that's going to get a lot of play, a lot of abuse, if you will, through the life of the purse. So I'm going to begin by having the back of my purse face me, and then I'm going to find that center stitch right there in the back. And the width of this strap is going to be 8 stitches long. So I'm just going to count over 4 stitches. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to just connect it here to the top. And then if you're familiar with a Tunisian stitch, go ahead and pull up your 8 loops. If you're not, just continue to watch me, because this should be easy enough to figure out with just on the strap. So this is considered the first loop, and then the second loop, and the third loop, and the fourth loop, and the fifth loop, and the sixth loop. And then we have the 7th loop. And then the 8th loop. Here, because it's only 8 stitches long, I'm just using my regular hook. However, if it was going to be any longer, or if your hook isn't pretty consistent across the bar, then you might want to think about using an actual Afghan hook, or also known as a Tunisian hook. Then I'm going to pull, or actually I'm going to do a yarn over, and I'm going to pull through that first loop. Then I'm going to do a yarn over, I'm going to pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over again, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, and so on. Yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops. So really all you need to remember is that when you're doing this stitch, it's only the end that you only pull through 1 loop. After that, everything else is 2 loops, at least with the basic Afghan stitch or Tunisian stitch, whichever way you want to call it. So we're going to do this again. I've got my first loop on the hook, and I'm going to get my second loop and then put my hook through that next bar. It gives me my 3rd loop. Insert my hook behind the next bar, and then pull up my 4th loop. Insert hook, 5th loop, again, 6, 7, and 8. And then again, I'm going to start pulling my yarn back through. It's going to be a yarn over, and pull through just that first loop on the end. And then after that, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over, 2 loops, yarn over, 2 loops. Just continue as at that. And so now we have 2 rows. And for this handle, we are actually going to want 58 rows. So we want it to be 8 stitches wide and 58 rows long. I'm going to do one more row for you, and then I'll let you get to it and meet you back here in just a few minutes. So now that we've completed 58 rows of our Tunisian stitch, the next step is to do a single crochet across each stitch, across the bottom of the strap, all the way down the side, and then around the entire edging of the purse, and then up the other side, at which point we will finish off here in this corner. So we'll start off with a few stitches. And then when we come to the corner, just go ahead and do 3 stitches in that corner, 3 single crochets, just to help us round that corner. And then continue to single crochet down the side edge of this strap. Now when I single crochet down this raw edge of the Tunisian piece, you're going to notice that you just basically have these bars. And so what I do is I take my hook and I just kind of wrap it around and in between where the 2 bars kind of cross each other in that stitch, and that's what I use to anchor in my single crochet. So again, I try to get closer to the camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I insert my hook under that section where both of those yarns kind of intersect. Now, some other people may have a different way of doing this as they're completing the edge down the side of their Tunisian fabric, but this is just what I do. And then you won't have that issue coming up on the other side, because the other side's going to have that traditional V-shaped stitching going on that you can easily anchor into with your single crochet. All right, so we're going to continue, as I said before, we're going to follow the edge all the way around and then back up again till we hit this corner, and then we're going to tie off. And when I get to that point, I'll come right back and then I'll show you how to do the next little strap that allows the hand strap to hook through. So once you finish the strap, you're just going to fold it over and sew it to the lip area of your bag. And as you can see, I've already sewn in the lining that I'm using. That, of course, is optional. You don't have to do that, but that's just what I'm doing. I find that it really adds a lot of extra stability to the handle and also to the bag itself. But that's, again, totally optional. Your bag is going to be totally functional even without the lining. Also, this other smaller strap is what I'm going to show you how to do next. As you can see, I've already sewn it in. It already has the lining sewed into that. And then also, you know, when you sew it onto the lip of the bag here, you're going to just sew it where it's evenly spaced between the two magnetic purse clasps. But if you chose not to use the clasps, which again is perfectly okay, you're just going to make sure that it's evenly spaced from either side of that front center. And also, all you need to do is just make sure that the opening of your loop is comfortably big enough for you to pull your strap through. And that's what gives it the knot name, because this is what basically holds your bag closed. And if you don't use these magnetic clasps to fold it in, your bag's going to look basically something like this. But when you use the clasps, your bag will look more something like this. And now, me personally, I've also got the spare fabric for the additional lining that I've got ready to sew into this bag. However, we're going to set this aside, and I am now going to show you how to make the loop, the front loop of the bag. So really, it's basically very simple. It's, again, a Tunisian stitch. And this time, you're going to begin by chaining 5 chains. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And before, you're going to consider this your first loop. And then I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain from the hook and pull through a loop. And then into the next chain, I'm going to pull through another loop. And then into that fourth chain, I'm going to pull through my fourth loop. And then again, in that last chain, I'm going to pull through my fifth loop. Now remember that with this very first loop, as we're coming back, you only pull over and pull through 1 loop. And then after that, everything else is a yarn over and then pulling through 2 loops. Yarn over and 2 loops, yarn over and 2 loops, yarn over and then 2 loops. And then again, I've got my first loop already on my hook. And then I'm going to go in that first bar and I'm going to pull up my second loop. And then the next bar, I'm going to pull up my third loop. And then I'm going to pull up my fourth loop. And I'm going to pull up my fifth loop. And as I yarn over, I'm just going to pull that yarn right through the first loop. And then after that, when I yarn over, I'll pull that yarn through 2 loops at a time until we've finished the row. So I'm going to continue to do this just this way for 25 rows. So it's 5 stitches across and 25 rows long. Now, as before, once we've gotten the length that we are looking for in this smaller strap, I'm going to then go ahead and, as with the larger strap, I'm going to go ahead and single crochet each stitch along the edge of the piece. So that'll be along all 4 sides. And then, of course, as before, once the smaller strap is completed, you just go ahead and space it an appropriate spacing, pretty much to your taste, on the front of your Japanese knot bag. And then you are ready to put it in use or give it as a gift. Until we meet again, I'd like to say to all you wonderful fiber artists, stay safe, stay amazing, and above all, stay crafty. Bye-bye now.